G'day, I'm Rambo. I'm a surf and ocean adventure photographer from New Zealand. The crew at Seafrogs have sent me this pre-production unit of their salted line housing for the Sony A7RV. So I thought I'd make a quick video to show you what's new with this salted line housing and some of its features. Salted line series are designed as hybrid housing, so you can use them both in the surf and underwater. It's been designed to withstand severe hydrodynamic shocks, so you can swim with it in heavy surf and dive up to 40 meters. One of the main features I really like on this housing is the camera controls. Most surf housings I've used previously had really limited controls, even just doing basic stuff like turning your camera off and on or changing your mode dial is impossible. For someone like me that enjoys shooting with different creative techniques at the light changes, I found that really frustrating. I really enjoy shooting in the mornings, so often I'll swim out in the dark and I'll have my camera in manual. I like to shoot slow shutter images while the light is low, and then adjust my camera settings as the light increases. Usually by the end of the swim, I'll be in aperture priority. So what's great about this camera housing is you have control over pretty much all your camera functions. I can switch the power from on to off, which is awesome if you're having a little rest on the beach or even between sets if you want to save some battery. You can change the mode dial, so yeah, I'll often change from manual to aperture priority depending on the creative style I want to shoot. And you can also swap from photos to video really easily just with this little switch here. Something else that's great is you can have control of all three of the different control wheels. So you've got your front wheel, top wheel and back wheel. You can set one to ISO, one to shutter, one to aperture. So that way you can have super quick responsive controls of all your settings if you're shooting in manual. I really like the front dial. The shutter button's there, so it'll be a little bit difficult having that control. So the dial is actually all the way down here, and then it just links up inside the housing. For this housing, Seafrogs has increased the button spring stiffness by 70%, so it's making the buttons super responsive. So they've added chunkier grips on the dials, so this is great for shooting in cold water if your hands are really numb, or even if you're wearing gloves, it's still easy to move those dials around. It's really cool how they have the button functions printed on them. I've used a lot of other housings that have just had like a bunch of miscellaneous silver buttons on the back, and it's quite hard to remember what's for what, so this is really cool. You can see that's the menu button. Boom, you're on your menu control. One feature I really like on this housing is the joystick focal point control. So a lot of housings don't give you full control over the joystick. It's quite a fiddly little control, so it's quite difficult to get into a housing, but Seafrogs have nailed it with this one. So yeah, for when I'm shooting, I want to shoot different compositions in the water. If I'm shooting some details, I might have my focal point really low on the frame. If I'm shooting for like a double page spread in a book, I might put my wave or my subject on one side so it's not caught in the spine in the middle of the book. So yeah, it's great to be able to move those focal points around, and I enjoy that so much more shooting. For this new salted line housing, Seafrogs have added this extra latch on the top, so it's got latches on both sides and the top just for a little bit extra security. Something that's really cool is there's actually two O-rings, so there's an O-ring on each side of the housing. So on the back plate, the O-ring here, it sits on this little lip just inside the inner O-ring, and on the inside, this particular O-ring, it sits on this lip here. So it's almost just giving you like a double waterproof seal. This housing has a universal M33 port, this right here, so you can run cables down. Seafrogs has this epic new monitor that they're releasing, and that's how it links in. On a lot of surf housings, the way the port attaches to the housing is it has a screw thread. These can be a little bit tricky because you're not quite sure, how tight you're supposed to screw it down. If you don't screw it tight enough, water could leak in. If you screw it too tight, it can put too much pressure on the O-ring, and then water can leak in that way as well. So what's really cool with this one, it's almost like your camera's bayonet system. So it has a little button there. You push that in, turn your lens, and then it has this on-off dot that lines up. Pull that out, and then your port comes off. So when it goes in, it's exactly the same way. You line up that little dot, push it in, turn it, and you'll see it click. And that way you know it's locked in perfectly. It can't turn at all to come off unless you push that button, and you know your O-ring's under the perfect amount of pressure. On the side here, this is the zoom control. Being able to use the full focal range of a lens in your housing makes it extremely versatile. So something like this Sony 24-70 GM2, this is epic for shooting in the water in the mornings. If there's a real nice sunrise, you can pull back to 24mm, get that whole sunrise in. And then if you wanted to go to 70mm, you can kind of get more details or just hone in on a wave and isolate out the subject there. So this is your zoom collar. So you just slip that on, just like that. And then once the lens is in the housing, this little cog here links up with the zoom collar, and then your lens can zoom in and out. A lot of the other surf housings I've used have had acrylic port elements. So what's really cool with Seafrogs is they actually use glass. So the advantages of glass is it's going to be a lot more scratch resistant, and then water is going to sheet off a lot easier, so you're not going to end up with water on your port, or you're less likely to have water droplets in your shots. Another really cool feature this housing has, it has a leak sensor. So if any water gets into your housing, it's usually going to gather in the bottom here. So this little sensor here, if any water gets on it, what will happen, lets out a little beep like that, and then that just alerts you need to get out ASAP. So overall, I'm really impressed with this new salted line housing for the Sony A7RV. Just having those full camera controls just gives you the chance to be able to shoot creatively, and for me, that's what it's all about. Let me know in the comments if you've got any questions about this housing. I'll do my best to answer them. And I've got a discount code for the Seafrogs website, so I'll put that in the video description. Catch you next time.